Yes. Okay, so within this video, we are going to talk some more about the Apple Silicon Mac Mini M1, and that's what I've got over here. And I've been using it for several weeks now, and you've probably seen all the videos. You've seen the people with the beards and the fancy haircuts and all that. I cut my own hair, man. You know, I use some clippers, and you know, I'm not going to doctor this up. I do have merch, Art Skies Adventure Channel T-shirt. So you know, at least I'm trying to look professional. But I'm here in my studio, independent YouTuber. Previously, I used an iMac for many years, and before the Mac Mini M1, which I have the 1 terabyte configuration with 16 gigs of memory. And before I used that, I used the MacBook Pro 16-inch with the Intel Core i9 with 32 gigs of RAM and a 1 terabyte hard drive, SSD. This Mac Mini smokes the MacBook Pro 16-inch i9 with 32 gigs of RAM. It grossly trumps the MacBook Pro 16-inch. Now, the only, you know, one of the, and again, I'm not going to sugarcoat any of this. I'm going to tell you what I think. I don't like the traditional Apple color. That's silver. Why didn't they offer this in space gray? You know what would have been really cool? Why didn't they offer it in the gold color like they have the MacBook Air in, or this blue color like the, you know, it's right here's the iPhone 12 Pro, man. I think that's a cool color. I've got it in a protective aftermarket poor man's case. But, yeah, but I mean, you know, the color doesn't matter. The good thing about the Mac Mini is that you could tuck this pretty much anywhere. Now, I've left it out on my desk. This is just a huge wraparound desk that I created. I built this thing many years ago because I'm a nerd. And it's awesome. And I put these LED lights under there. I mean, it's just pretty, I think it's pretty pimp. But I'm going to better arrange this. And actually, this hole right here that you see where the Mac Mini resides, the Mac Mini M1, I'm going to put an ultra-wide curved monitor. But ultimately, I'm hoping that Apple will announce the iMac with Apple Silicon soon. And I'll put that sucker here. And then I'll use my Mac Mini M1 for another business purpose. So this monitor is here. This is a 4K monitor. It's here because it doubles as my multi-view for my green screen studio set. So the price point of the Mac Mini M1 is incredible. I mean, I was able, you know, for the price of a, like I was saying, the MacBook Pro 16-inch with 32 gigs of RAM and 1 terabyte, able to get me a Mac Mini and also a MacBook Air. So now I've got the studio computer that grossly trumps the performance of my old MacBook Pro 16-inch. And then I'll have the MacBook Air, which at the time of filming this, my MacBook Air hasn't arrived. Reason is that I had it spec'd out. I ordered it and I had it loaded up. I had the MacBook Air M1 with the 1 terabyte and the 16 gigs of RAM. And then I got to thinking, you know, most of my editing is going to be done in the studio. So why do I want to spend that for my field computer when, I mean, there's COVID and all that stuff going around right now. So, you know, travel's not really normal. It's not like I can go, you know, get on my boat and go down the Caribbean and film videos, because a lot of places, I could, but a lot of places are closed and it would just be a waste of money. So with that being the case, I'm putting my bigger bucks, which is still super affordable, into the MacBook. I put my bigger bucks, rather, into the MacBook Mini M1. And then the MacBook Air M1 that I've got coming, it's just going to be, you know, modestly equipped. It's going to have 512 gig of 512 SSD and only 8 gigs of RAM. So I figure, you know, the MacBook Air, that's something I can take on the road. It's still capable, but I'll do my heavy lifting when I'm in my studio here with my Mac Mini M1. Now, ultimately, what you probably realize, you know, Apple's always coming out with newer stuff. It's inevitable that the 16-inch Apple Silicon MacBook Pro is probably going to have a faster processor. And also the iMac with Apple Silicon, probably going to have a faster processor. But with that being said, there's a lot of people like, man, I'm not going to get the Apple Silicon yet. It's too early, dude. They're going to come out with something that's going to be faster. Of course they're going to come out with something faster. And then there's the other people that say, no, man, I'm not going to get the Apple Silicon, dude, because, there's a lot of apps right now that are just Intel only, and you got to use Rosetta 2, and it's just not a good experience, man. That is a true statement. But I will tell you, and looking at my, let's see, what do they call this program? The Apple Activity Monitor. Looking in there, for my use case, the only Intel apps that I have running right now, I've got the Intel app for my Blackmagic Design ATEM Mini Pro, because they haven't released an Apple Silicon version of their app yet. It's running Rosetta 2, and it says Intel within. That's how you tell if your apps are optimized for Apple Silicon, or if they're using the Rosetta 2 for Intel. You go into Activity Monitor, go into CPU tab, and you can see if it's using Intel or Apple. So my ATEM Mini Pro software is using Intel, the Rosetta 2. The backup that I use for my cloud backup, Backblaze, is still using Intel. But other than that, everything I've got is Apple Silicon. And again, my use case, I'm a heavy video editor. Here on Irix Guys Adventure Channel, youtube.com/Irix Guy, where you're watching this video. I'm big into video editing. And this is the timeline, editing the videos within Final Cut Pro 10, so much smoother. Grossly trumps my Intel MacBook Pro 16-inch. The export from compressor, and check out my other test, there were some situations where the Intel i9 was slightly faster with the export of the video. The timeline is so much smoother, though, in Final Cut Pro 10. So those few seconds, dude, there's no going back. I mean, Apple Silicon is the future. Apple, in the past, they had PowerPC, and then they went to Intel. Now they're going back to their own thing. Apple Silicon, the M1, and the M2, or whatever they come out with next. So it's really impressive. And I mean, I've enjoyed this thing. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat stuff and tell you that it's the goose's feather, man. I'm not going to put up these fancy camera angles and dial in my ISO and my camera and make every little mouse click and keyboard click look like it's something out of a Hollywood production. That's not me, man. I'm just an independent YouTube channel. But even though I'm an independent YouTube channel, it made good business sense to upgrade to the latest and greatest, and I don't regret it at all. Again, these are my opinions after owning and using my Mac Mini M1, 1 terabyte SSD, 16 gigs of RAM. And you can expand this video's description and then click the link there to find where to order it online. But yeah, I mean, these are my opinions. Would I go back to Intel? No, there's no way. Because I mean, at least currently, Apple's direction is going Apple Silicon. Now, if they flip back to Intel or another chip in the future, at that point in time, I'd probably be an early adopter. I think with things like this, it's safe to be an early adopter. There are people that heavily invested into the Apple Intel ecosystem with the Mac Pros. I mean, potentially spent tons of thousands of dollars, man. Those people are heavily invested. So they're probably not going to be the people that are going to jump ship and replace their multiple $1,000 Mac Pro with an entry-level price point Mac Mini. So, few things though. It's only got 2 USB-C ports on the back, which is fine. For me, I've got this generic red cable right here that I use. It's USB-C, so if I'm downloading videos from this camera that I'm filming this with, or if I'm downloading videos from my GoPro or, charging something, I'll use that. And then my other cable, USB-C, is going to my external 14 terabyte mechanical hard drive that houses all of the videos that are good, my keepers. Not just junk that I film and edit and upload and delete. Those are keepers. Those are when I'm out in my boats and I'm cruising around the islands and capturing that cool footage. That's stuff I keep. So it's on my external 14 terabyte hard drive. The 1 terabyte SSD internal, you could probably get by with 512 gig because there's plenty of room to edit. But I wanted the cushion. If I wanted to just download a ton of videos, 4K, and edit them and then purge them or send them over to my 14 terabyte external mechanical hard drive for long-term retention, I can do that. But again, with my MacBook Air M1 that's coming, I went with the 512 gig storage just because I didn't want to spend as much for that. That's just my field computer. It doesn't have to be as powerful. It doesn't have to have as much storage space as my studio computer. But this thing is so incredible, man. And it just begs the question, how powerful is the iMac I shouldn't say iMac M1 because it may actually be faster than the M1. But the iMac Apple Silicon, how much more powerful is it going to be than the first generation Mac Mini and the first generation MacBook Air? It's a lot of interesting. There's a lot of interesting things to ponder, man. There really is. But it's. I wish it was in space gray, man, or I wish it was gold. But again, being so small, it can be tucked away. You could hide it behind a monitor. You get you some duct tape or something and duct tape it on the back of a monitor, and you wouldn't even know it was there. I'm not saying it's ugly, but it looks dated, man. What's cool though, I've been editing the heck out of videos. Not even the least bit warm to the touch. It's cool. Brr. These things run so much cooler than the Intels. I tell you, Apple Silicon is really a superior thing. It's got the HDMI out. I'm just running the HDMI to my monitor, which is fine. Likewise, you could use either of the two USB-Cs, which I think are they Thunderbolt 3 or Thunderbolt 4? You could use them to connect a monitor as well. Let's see, what else? Oh yeah, there's no power brick. So it's just a very sleek power cable that, plugs in. You don't have a brick. So that's nice. Obviously it's whisper quiet. I hear my drive over there. That's my external mechanical hard drive. But the Mac Mini M1 is whisper quiet, man. Hasn't locked up on me a single time. Tell that to your PC friends. Yep, has not locked up. Let's see, what else? I don't know, man. I've been nerding out watching all these Mac Apple Silicon videos, the Mac Mini M1, the MacBook Air M1, and there's not as many of the MacBook Pro M1s, and I think that's because people realize that if they go with the MacBook Air, that they're getting the same processor. And it's a smaller and lighter package, and there's more color options. You can get the gold MacBook Air M1. You can't get gold, at least now, in the MacBook Pro 13-inch. And on the MacBook Pro 13-inch, you get that, the little touch bar or whatever, where the function keys are. Love it or hate it. I honestly, when I was using it on my 16-inch MacBook Pro, I never really even noticed it was there. And it just didn't add the value. So for that reason, I'd rather just have a traditional keyboard like the MacBook Air M1 comes with. But yeah, this thing has been, it's been great. And, I encourage you to ask any questions you may have. Again, I'm not here to put the camera, zoom in on the keyboard, and I'm sitting there pushing the buttons, and it looks like some sort of professional production, man. I don't care about that. I'm just here in my studio. I'm an independent YouTuber. I'm trying to grow. Check out my videos. Subscribe. Click that button and ring that bell, man. I'm just trying to grow. But I love this thing. I really, if you're on the fence about Apple Silicon, dude, just do it. And again, this is the first generation of the device. These, the first generation of Mac Mini M1, first generation of MacBook Air M1, first generation of MacBook Pro 13-inch M1. So if you want to wait. But if you want something it's going to be like, man, I'm mad at myself because I bought that MacBook Pro 16-inch pretty well spec'd out with a 1 terabyte SSD and 32 gigs of RAM. So to have done that and then something entry level come out that just grossly trumps the performance of it, I kind of had mixed emotions. I was happy about it because I'm happy for Apple for what they've accomplished. But I was disappointed because, I probably should have just waited, man, and not upgraded. But See, my incorrect assumption was that when Apple Silicon came out, that it was just going to be entry level. It wasn't going to be for your power users, you know, people that are editing 4K video like I do. It was just going to be a, you know, a basic entry level performance system. And that's not the case. They've released something that grossly trumps the top end of their previous generation systems that ran Intel. So that was unexpected. You know, we can't predict the future, man. If I could have predicted the future, I would have seen the iPod coming, and I would have invested heavily within Apple, and I would have been a multi-millionaire today. But I'm not. I'm not a multi-millionaire yet, which is crazy. But it'll happen. You know, just got to keep on churning the video content. So, but yeah, that's it. Ask the questions you have. You know, I'm here. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. You know, I'm not putting on an art school presentation or anything here. I'm just telling you what I think about my MacBook Mini M1. And any questions you have, man, just ask. And I'll try my best to answer. And most importantly, subscribe. You know, youtube.com/IRIXGuy. And when you do, ring that bell icon, and that'll notify you whenever I post another video. And if you're looking for the MacBook or the Mac Mini M1, expand this video's description and then click the link there and you can find where to order it online. Thanks for your viewership, and y'all have a good day. Hey y'all, Captain IRIXGuy here. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to subscribe. It's youtube.com/IRIXGuy. And ring that bell icon when you do to be notified whenever I post another video. Thanks for your viewership, and y'all have a good day.